Good afternoon. I'm your host, Chris Roberts, host of The Long Road, and I'm going to do a few things this week. But one of the things that I'm going to hit on is Keene. What is Keene? What is the makeup of Keene? And what got me going on this was last week at the City Council, we had the public hearing on the capital improvement program. Then there was a gentleman that spoke, excuse me, to me, you know, he was well off. He was not, quote, financially hurting, but he came in front of the City Council and says, I am hurting. And between my taxes from the city, the county, the school, and the lack of funding from the state, it doesn't look like I can stay in Keene much longer. And I think if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, he said that he only has 3 more years before his children will all be in the high school, and then he no longer has to stay in Keene and pay the Keene taxes for his kids to go to high school. So he could quickly move to Chesterfield, Winchester, Surrey, any other surrounding community that has a lower tax base in Keene, and still get the same quality education at the Keene High School without having to pay as much in local property tax. And so we talk about Keene and what is Keene and what is it made up. So what I'm going to do later on in the program is talk about it. Let's give us a realistic look on what is Keene. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a bill that I had up in Concord, HB 471, concerning dual enrollment. And there was an article in the Keene Sentinel last week and said, you know, basically said it got totally trashed. I think I only got like 41 votes in support of it. And yeah, I was upset that it got defeated. I thought it was beneficial for not only the kids in Keene, but people all around the state. But the part that really kind of ticked me off was how it got defeated. And I have a letter here from, this one right here, from the Community College System of New Hampshire. The Community College System of New Hampshire wishes to respectfully note its opposition to HB 471, establishing a commission to study dual enrollment. HB 471 would establish a commission to study the feasibility of implementing a dual enrollment program in New Hampshire. The commission would be charged with studying the academic standards, student qualification, granting of degrees, and funding necessary to implement a dual enrollment program. The Community College System New Hampshire opposes HB 471 because we feel it's unnecessary and because we are concerned about the implications of a potential statewide mandate with post-secondary accreditation standards and procedures. Now stop and look at that. We feel it's unnecessary because we are concerned about the implications of a potential statewide mandate with post-secondary accreditation standards. All our schools, our high schools, our schools have to be accredited. They have to have a certain level of standards. And the community college system is very concerned about the implications of a potential state mandate. And so that really got me going. But what I found really, which went against all democracy and the right to know law in New Hampshire, on this little piece of paper, it's from the community college. What you may notice, there is no letterhead on this. It's just a plain piece of paper back inside, type Community College System Position Statement of HB 471, House Education Committee, February 6, 2001. In this whole piece of paper, front and back, there is not one single person's name on this. All it says is the only thing that goes is CCSNH, Community College System of New Hampshire. I have no idea who wrote this, who provided it. I don't know if the community college system did it. I don't know if some lobbyist did it. No one signed it. Like I said, no one signed it. There's not a name. There's no point of contact. And this is not the way we're supposed to do it in New Hampshire. Since I've been up at the State House, every single piece of paper that we have always has a person's name on it, always has an email address or a phone number, and in most cases, it's on letterhead, so we know who it comes from, and so it'd be in the permanent record. I've talked to a former House Speaker, some senators, other committee chairs. I've been on a committee chair. I've talked to city clerks, and they all say stuff like this goes into the trash, not into the the folder. Also, everyone said, the speaker and chairs, if it doesn't have a name and it doesn't have any signature, it gets no weight whatsoever. But also on the top of it, it says no speaker. So there was no speaker, no signature. And what normally happens on some of them, you will not have a signature. But as if, for example, if I'm going to go in front of a committee and give a 5-minute speech, what I will normally do is I will print out a copy and give it to the committee and say, this is a copy of my spoken testimony. So people can take notes and they can reflect back on what I said. But it still has my name on it or has someone else's name on it. If someone sends an email for the record, it's still got the email address. It still has the person's on it contact. But this is the first time in my 9 years in Concord, and like I said, no one that I was able to speak of has ever known of this happening. This is a state agency, Community College System, New Hampshire, doing really unprofessional work, no letterhead, no signature, no names, and having it put in the record as testimony. And then the committee chair going on the floor and saying that the New Hampshire spoke at the committee, community college, spoke at the committee and said they didn't need it. They never spoke at the committee. Again, from the New Hampshire House Representative Education Committee, February 7, 2013, HB 471, testimony from the University System of New Hampshire. Again, on the top, no speaker, no letterhead, no point of contact. And it goes, this is from the University of New Hampshire. In order for dual enrollment to work well for students, institution, and the state, there is a need for courses to be carefully articulated to ensure that students who take introductory course and prerequisite course while in high school are in fact appropriately prepared to be successful in the subsequent course taken in college. Careful assessment of course construction and learning outcomes for these dual enrollment plans developed in concert with faculty at USNH Institute should provide for both full articulation with New Hampshire public institutions, but also support effective transfer to other college, both private and non-New Hampshire public. That would allow New Hampshire students maximum flexibility in planning for post-secondary options. Okay. That was the whole purpose of the dual enrollment program. And the University of New Hampshire system says they agree completely with it, but they don't want a study committee. Then they had, this one did have names. It said Margaret Richmond, Director of Admissions at Keene State College. The admission office at Keene State College regularly admits students who have taken college courses at their high school and gives them freshmen with advanced standing status. The students go through orientation and take required first-year courses, but they may have up to 60 credits from college courses they took in 1 to 4 semesters while in high school. Well, if you have up to 60 credits from college courses that you took in high school, why would you get freshmen with advanced status? The question is, the students go and take required first-year courses. If you're taking up to 60 credits in high school, college credits in high school, that's the whole purpose. You do that to take required first-year courses. So going from the high school, or dual enrollment, going from high school to college, you shouldn't be classified as a freshman because you've completed your freshman first-year courses. And it's like a roundabout way in saying is, yeah, we know you may have 60 credits, but we're still going to consider you as a freshman advanced standing. And oh yeah, we do not have to accept all the dual enrollment courses that you have right now, because in New Hampshire, a lot of them are running start. And what happens with running start is a lot of times there will be a high school teacher teaching to a high school class and teaching a little bit different, and quote unquote, each child then pays, I think, about $150 to the community college system, and then the community college system will give them the 3 credits. Well, mostly all the successful dual enrollment programs around the United States, 46 out of 50 states have standards, is one of them. The biggest standard is they require anyone teaching dual enrollment to have a master's degree and have at least 18 hours of credit course in the subject they're teaching. So in Running Start, it's quite possible for you just to have a bachelor's degree, but you're just teaching a little bit more advanced curriculum. And just because you're teaching advanced curriculum and those credits get credited to the community college system, it doesn't mean they're going to be accepted at other colleges around the country. And if you go online, you'll have a number of colleges that will not accept them because they don't meet the standards. And he goes, the University of New Hampshire and the other 3 university system institutions are all accepting students who receive credit for college level work completed while in high school, whether it's through Running Start. And again, Running Start, a lot of it's vocational and technical, where you're working to, and a lot of times the community college and, for example, the Cheshire Center works with maybe Timkins or one of the other ones to produce highly qualified students that go right into work, vocational. And advanced placement or programs like Challenging Academic Talented Students, which we offer at UNH. The CATS program is open to motivated and academically strong local high school seniors and juniors who want to enrich their academic experience with the introductory college level course. Well, here's a catch. You got to read the words. The CAP program is open to motivated and academically strong local high school seniors and juniors. So the UNH CAP program doesn't do much, and this is from Mark Rubenstein, Vice President of Academic and Student Service, University of New Hampshire. So according to Mark, unless you're near Durham, CATS doesn't pertain to you because you're not local. Advanced placement courses. Yes, a lot of colleges accept advanced placement courses. It used to be you got scored 3 or higher in advanced placement course, you'd get credit for it. But now we have colleges that won't give credit unless you get a 4 or a 5. And so now it goes. We are also currently working to strengthen the partnership between University of New Hampshire system and the Community College System Institute, as evidenced by ongoing work on reverse credits and the existing New Hampshire transfer. Again, working to strengthen the partnership, as evidenced by the ongoing work on reverse transfers. So just because you get credit at community college system doesn't mean the University of New Hampshire system, Keene State, Plymouth, or UNH are going to accept those. They don't have to accept them. That's a work in progress. And Julia Bergeron, Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs at Plymouth State University, goes, we are currently developing an early college model that would achieve the goal of this bill. The University System of New Hampshire academic leaders are working with local superintendents to develop first a pilot that will assist us in determining which of these various models would be both cost-effective and sustainable as a statewide initiative. We respectfully ask the legislature to recognize the work that is already in progress. We would be happy to update the legislature on our progress as we work through these developments. And so, like when you go and read the article that was in the Keene Sentinel, where UNH system, well, the community college system says we don't need any dual enrollment program because we have an effective one in place. And the university system, quote unquote, told the education committee, we don't need anything because it's all in place. But again, we are currently developing an early college model that would achieve the goals of the bill. The University System of New Hampshire academic leaders are working with local superintendents. Again, local superintendents, not all around the state, but just local superintendents, to develop first a pilot that will assist us in determine. If you're going to develop a pilot, that's something that's going to take 1 or 2 years. After you develop the pilot, you put the pilot in place, you evaluate it, you may agree to make some changes and move on, or you may go and say, it doesn't cut the mustard and we're going to put an end to it. A pilot that will assist us in determine which of various models would be both cost-effective and sustainable as a statewide initiative. We respectfully ask the legislature to recognize the work that is already in progress. We would be happy to update the legislature on our progress as we work through development. We respectfully ask the legislature to recognize the work that's already in progress. We would be happy to update the legislature on our progress as we work through development. So there is no work in progress. They're just trying to develop a plan to create a pilot. So basically right now, when I was asking for, let's go in and create a dual enrollment program that would involve the university system, a study group to the university system, the community college system, all the superintendents, the Superintendents Association, the New Hampshire School Board Association, and others to go in, take a year and look at it. The university system says no because we're thinking about working on our own. The community college system says no. They're only working with some superintendents. You got to be local. And so in the process, over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to go through this, and we might find out 2 to 3 years from now, it doesn't work the way that we're doing it. And the whole thing about if we all want to get to the same place, why do we allow people to go on their own at government expense for the next 2 to 3 years when they could just sit down and go and talk among themselves and say, what problem do you have with a credit from Keene State College or a credit from Keene High School or a credit from the community college going to the university system? There are so many questions that could be asked, but right now, the way it's going to go, they're all going to go on their own for the next 2 or 3 years, and a whole group of high school kids will go from 9th grade to 12th grade and will not be able to take the advantage of it. So it's us adults worrying about our own pet territory at the expense of our high school students. We talk a very good game saying how we want to educate our kids, but we don't want to educate our kids if it's going to take money out of my pocket. Nope. This is about job security at the University New Hampshire system, job security at the community college systems, and kids and parents are going to pay an awful lot of money, and they're going to graduate deeper and deeper into debt. And again, like I said, right here, no speaker, no signatures, and so it doesn't give anybody the opportunity to call these people. You can track them down, but to call these people and say, can you defend this? If this was so important to the University of New Hampshire system, why didn't they have someone come to the hearing and speak? Why didn't they have someone come to the hearing and be able to ask questions? They didn't show up. Not even their lobbyists showed up. Myself was there, and Assistant Superintendent Bill Gurney spoke. We were the only two that spoke. No one else spoke there. And so that's the way government sometimes goes. There is no transparency. In this case, there is no right to know, because the person that supposedly turned in this paper talked to the chairperson and another person, and those people in turn told the committee and then told the whole State House that they were the university system and the community college system provided testimony, spoke to the committee. Never happened. And so that's what really ticks me off at up at Concord, because they are government employees. We as the taxpayers pay them. If they have a problem with this, they need to send themselves or the representative to the hearing and explain why they have a problem. They did not even have the courtesy to call me or even talk to me before the bill and say, hey, Representative Roberts, we have a concern with this, we have a concern with that. You know what? I could have listened to their concerns. Maybe I could have modified. I could come up with an amendment to different things. Or I could say, this is the purpose of it. And I could explain it to them, and so they may be able to understand. But not the way this goes. And this is not good government. This is backdoor government, boiler room government. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, it's not supposed to work that way. It's supposed to be out in the open. We pride ourselves in New Hampshire of the public's right to know, and this isn't the public's right to know, and this is how the public gets screwed. And what makes it even worse, as I think I've said a number of times before, a good 60 to 70% of the people will not say a single word, will not ask a single question, will not read these bills. They are totally dependent. Their vote is totally dependent on the House calendar with the little blurb that goes in there explaining it, and what happens normally when the chair gets up. So the chair will talk to the caucus, and the chair will talk to the thing, and the chair goes and says, this is what happened. And people believe the chair, and they go, okay, the chair's right. And so if we can't trust the chairs of our committees to do this committee work out in the open with people signing their names, doing that, then we're in trouble. Because every single person says you do not give any weight whatsoever to anything that doesn't have a name or it doesn't have a signature. So the vote was all based on the majority of the weight was given to the community college system and UNH system based on these two pieces of paper. Again, no letterhead, no signature. These two pieces of paper held more weight than the testimony that I provided and the testimony that Assistant Superintendent Bill Gurney provided. And matter of fact, as I end this, when I was handing out some detailed packages containing the Nebraska Study Commission on Dual Enrollment that just finished up last year, making Nebraska number 46, the federal government's Commission on Dual Enrollment, and a number of other ones like the University of Chicago and Chicago Community College, the courses they've developed for dual enrollment and other standards. Two of the people on the education committee spoke out loud as I was going by and says, you know what, this is too much information for us to read. So if they're saying this is too much information for us to read, and then the university system and the community college system sends this with no signatures, and they didn't even read this, they listened to the chairperson, we're in trouble. Because as I read some of these things, these two papers, I could have very easily argued supports my point for the reason why we need dual enrollment. Again, it got me a little peeved because I don't mind getting beat. Just play by the rules. Or if you're not going to play by the rules, just don't be so arrogant that you think everyone else is stupid and they're not going to question. And so, excuse me. I think sometimes in the world, how you treat people causes the karma that comes back to bite you in the butt at times. Well, Friday, Finance Division 2 voted 4-3 to cut the governor's request of $48 million of state support for the university system in half, down to $25 million. The university system was told that by the finance committee, and you got to realize this, that the finance committee is predominantly Democrats. The Democrats have the majority on all committees, and they voted 4-3 to cut. So when you go and look at it, the Democrats voted, some Democrats voted with Republicans to cut the governor's request by 50%. It was, one representative says they would support the 100% increase, the 100% return compared to last year's, or the $50 million or $48 million, if every single dime went to scholarships for New Hampshire students who made a B average and lived in New Hampshire. And because he's saying New Hampshire University system and stuff said they were going to freeze student enrollment for 2 years if they got the 100% of their money back. Well, like he says, basically, UNH is about $26,000 a year. So even if you froze it, if you're after need base, New Hampshire University system, UNH, is still the highest, number one, most expensive public university in the country. Excuse me. It doesn't do the kids of New Hampshire very good. If you freeze it at the highest, you still froze. But as a recent article in the Keene Sentinel, the editorial was, yeah, they froze tuition, but a lot of fees went up. And so, again, it's like your tax bill. You don't look at the school portion or the city portion or the county portion or the state portion. You look at the total portion. When you're going to Keene State College, you don't look at room and board. You look at your total bill because you got to pay all of them. Doesn't matter. You don't pay your fees, you don't get in. Doesn't. And so, basically, at $26,000 at UNH. So $100,000 over 4 years. So say if you you found a way, you got scholarships and other kind of stuff, and you were able to pay 50% of it. So you only had $50,000 in student loans. If you paid $250 a month, it would, with no interest, it would take you 200 months, or basically 17 years, to pay off your student loan from UNH. Just think, $250 a month for 17 years. Now, if you throw interest and stuff, it would only, at $250 a month, it would only take you between 20 and 25 years to pay off a $50,000 student loan from UNH. Just think, graduate out of college at 22, and by the time you're 45 to 47 years old, you'll be able to pay off, you would have paid off your student loan. And so, but you just sit there and you really shake your head. You know, and I'm looking at the stuff and I'm shaking my head. The other one is the gas tax that's coming up. The gas tax only passed in the House, I think, by about a little bit, 28 to 29 votes. The Senator Morris has already said it's dead on arrival. And and I think it's going to be dead on arrival because there was a number of us that voted for the gas tax, hoping that the Senate would take out all those extra diversions. Because when I originally came out to support the gas tax, I was expecting 100% of all the new gas tax to go to roads and bridges. But as it turned out, there was going to be millions and millions of dollars that wasn't going to go to road and bridges. It was going to go to fish and game. It was going to go to ATV trails. It was going to go to the court system. Some was going to public safety. There were so many other places. And I think, unfortunately, because all those I don't know if the Senate is going to even think about chopping those out and coming back. I think the Senate is going to use that as an opportunity to kill it completely. And so that's going to have a negative effect. A little tidbit. Of the 338 employees in the New Hampshire Department of Education, only 67 of them are paid by New Hampshire taxpayers. Basically, 261 of them are paid by the federal government. I'm going to have a little statement that Representative Bob Elliott, he's a Lutheran minister, great guy. He even went to school with Martin Luther King when they were getting divinity school. He was talking about there were hundreds of people at the public hearing last Thursday. We finance committee members sat up front and listened to people who were addicted, wheelchair-bound, blind, elderly, severely handicapped, etc. And they all said the same thing. Please restore the last session's cuts. And as sad as it is, as it was to see so many people suffering, I kept thinking, there is not one single thing that we can do to help these unfortunate people except listen, because we simply do not have the money to fund all these social problems. It would take a massive tax increase to help all of these programs, and I mean massive. And basically, the governor has wonderful motives and plans. She believes in what she is trying to do. But as I predicted when she was campaigning, she would increase the budget by $1 billion. And that, my friends, is impossible. Democrats and Republicans have voted 25-0 on numerous requests for millions of dollars. This is a very bipartisan finance committee compared to last year. But basically, there is no money there. Just isn't any money there. And so, and Mr. Elliott, he's a great guy. We talk all along. Even the Ways and Means Committee says they're only projecting a 2.5% increase in revenue. And as the numbers are coming in, it's like, what are we going to do? We're $50 million short already this year, and that $50 million that we're short, we're either going to have to do away with the rainy day fund, and if we do away with the rainy day fund, that $50 million is going to have to come off right off the top of next year's budget. So it's a number game, and the number game isn't looking very good. So, as I said earlier, we're going to talk about Keene. Just what is Keene? What are the real numbers in Keene? And I've gone to a number of places. The first place I went to is the United States Census, and it's called the American Community Survey. And basically, I tracked down Keene. And Keene, the population, I don't have to bump this over. The population in Keene right now is 2011. In 2011, not right now, but the last one is 23,354. The population in 2010 is 23,409. So basically what the U.S. Census is saying is that Keene is shrinking. And chances are when the next 2012 comes out, you'll find out that we've shrunk a little bit more. But also what it goes, some numbers, is has an effect on the school budget, has an effect on the county budget. Okay. under 5. Only 3.9% of the people in Keene are under 5 years old, compared to the state average of 5.3. So this number right over here has to be play a major factor in is when we get ready to do the elementary schools over again, whether it's one new school in Simons and Fuller, do we go to 4 schools, or what do we do? But when we're looking out right now is 3.9. We have one of the lowest under 5, city-wise in the state. Under 18. Okay? Under 18, only 16.6% of the people in Keene are under 18 compared to almost 22% in statewide. So again, we've lost about 300 people in the high school over the last 5-6 years. So what this shows is that we're going to still continue to lose student population in the high school. And so the question is, can we get other people to come in to pick up those spots? What's going to happen to Chesterfield and Westmoreland and Winchester? Are they going to grow? Or what happens if Winchester moves out of the Keene School District and says, for example, joins with Hinsdale? Those right here have long-range effects on the education. Over 65, Keene has 14.7% compared to the state 13.5. Another thing is females. The majority of the population in Keene is females. 53%, over 53% of the people that live in Keene residents are female compared to the state of 50.7. But here's where some of it gets really going. Living in the same house for over a year. Okay, statewide, basically almost 87% of the people statewide are living in the same house that they lived more than a year ago. Keene is down to 76.5. And this is not the college students. This is people losing their homes from foreclosure, people being forced out of their apartments because they can no longer pay the rent or the utilities. So 10-point difference. High school graduates or higher. Keene has 90%, statewide is 91.2, and doesn't seem like much. But when you look at Keene, we've got the high school, and we've got a number of colleges and stuff. We're at River College, we got the Keene Community Education that helped people graduate. You got Keene State College, you got Antioch and stuff. So you would expect that we would have a higher graduation rate. Bachelor's, BA or BS or higher, 35.6 to statewide 33.1. And we can easily go and say, well, we're looking good because we're over the rate. But no, when you look at Cheshire Medical, and you look at Keene State College, you look at Antioch, and you look at a lot of the positions that we have, the teachers at the high school, the elementary school, this number for Keene should be much higher of graduate people with a 4 years or higher. And it isn't. Now we'll go down to, that's the population. Okay. Housing units. There is 9,700, what did I get it right here? And 19. Okay, of that, home owned, 5,159. So only 53% of the houses in Keene, housing units in Keene are lived in by the person that owns it. Keene, as we suspected, so 47% not homeowner owned. That has a negative effect because people who live in their own houses take better care of their own houses. People who live in their own houses, the houses are worth more. People who live in someone else's house, like a lot of college students and some other ones, or not even college students, they trash them. And when they trash them, they cause the value to go down. When the value goes down, the appraisal goes down and they pay less taxes. So, which means that people that own their own houses and live in their own houses have to pay more in taxes and make up the the difference. In home ownership, Keene, 56.7. Statewide, 72.5. And so, look at that big gap, almost 16% difference between home ownership in Keene and statewide. Households in Keene, 9,028. Why is that such an important number? Because there's 9,719 housing units in Keene, but there's 9,028 households. So that leaves a gap of up to 700 housing units that are not being filled around Keene area, in the city of Keene. And again, empty housing units deteriorate quickly. Part of it is this 9,028. So when sons and daughters and other families are living in with their parents, that results in less households. And so again, because the cost of rent is so high, so if you have 100, say we have 100 families, kids and kids living with their mom and dad, that's 100 houses that are not being filled, so it's 100 vacancies. And there's a good possibility is the reason this number is so high, again, is because utility costs, heating costs, rental costs are so high that people cannot afford to live on their own. And so that's the part that is and in Keene, the median value of your house, I gotta get a better one here. In Keene is $197,000 compared to $250K statewide. The multifamily houses in Keene, 43.7%. Statewide, 25.4%. People in household, 2.25 in Keene, 2.48. People in the household in Keene is because, as you notice, that Keene is older, and because Keene have more people over 65 than the state average, then you have more elderly people living in there either by themselves or a widow or widower, or you just two of them. And when you look at the small number of children, that shrinks the number. So the per capita income in Keene is $25,631. State is $2,357. Per capita in Keene is 79% of the state average. Median household income in Keene is 48,441. Statewide, so Keene, it's less than 75% of the state average. So you put that in its perspective, statewide, for every dollar someone earns statewide, based on the statewide average, if you're working in Keene, you only make 75 cents. And when you go 48,444, if it's two people working full-time, that comes out to $11.64 an hour. That's what it comes out to in Keene. $11.64 an hour. That's what it's going to take two people working full-time to make. And to me, it's not very good when you consider you got to pay taxes and you got to pay all this other stuff on it. You're not going to have very much to spend in Keene. People below poverty level. The state, 8%. Keene, 15.5%. Keene's poverty level is almost twice as high as the state's average. And all we have to do is, if we wanted to, but we really don't like to, if we talk about the homeless shelters, you talk about 100-day night, you talk about the community kitchen, all that other kind of stuff, we have a lot of poverty. You go to the school and you would detract, if you were to go look at the numbers, you can't get the names of the homeless kids that go to school. This number is, like I said, almost 100%, and it's getting higher. And you go in, and it's really, really frustrating when you go in and you look at the numbers. Here's the thing, okay? What do I have it? Males working. In Keene, only 66.1% of all working age males are working. And I go, oh, bingo. And so Keene ranks 61st out of 96 larger communities in the state of New Hampshire on males working. And what did I have? When it comes to females, Keene is 63 out of 96. With 55.1% working. When you look at in Keene, you go in, and some of the places that about Keene size, it's Berlin has 52.9%, males. Winchester, 56.4%. Women, Troy, 80.5. Marlboro, 74.6. As someone with a degree in social science, this again has an effect on the economic makeup of the community, because in Keene, 53% of the people in Keene are females. And the amount of jobs for females, only 55%, and only 66% of the males are working. Troy, 80% of the women in Troy are working, almost 75% of the women in Marlboro are working. And so when you go and you look really deep into the numbers, Keene has a lot of problems. Keene has held up pretty good over the last 3 or 4 years in the economic cycle, and the school district is able to keep going because they're able to sell quite a bit of property here and there. The city has been able to take money out of its reserve balance to keep the taxes low. But for the school, on the school side of the house, all our sales of public buildings, they're gone. There's no more money coming up. The city can only take so much more money out of its unreserved, then all of a sudden its bond rating will go down and we have to pay more in interest. So when you go, I know this is gibble-gabbish, and I'll have to put it together for one other show, maybe use a PowerPoint, the dreaded PowerPoint, to make it clearer. But this shows in Keene, we really got a couple of different worlds. We've got people over here that are working, hard-working, struggling to get by. And here it is, again, like this one right here. If you're working full-time, this amount of money, it comes to $11.64. But when you go and see males working, only 66% of the males are eligible to work, can work, and only 55 of the women that eligible to work can work. This shows there's not too many jobs in Keene, and the jobs that are in Keene don't pay very much. And we'll go in and let's see. In 2007, retail sales per person in Keene was $42,164 compared to $19,246 statewide. Hotels and restaurants in Keene in 2004 was $68,895,000. That's how much the sales were. This is in 2007. I haven't been able to get update. So basically $69 million in 2007 of sales in Keene was a result of hotels and meals. That number is high. So Keene is totally dependent on people coming in, staying at our hotels, and not totally, but pretty much dependent on people stopping at our hotels and eating our restaurants. Because, you know what, for every single one of us here in Keene, $42,000 in retail sales compared to $19,000 statewide. And you know it can't be us in Keene because the median household income is $48,000. And one really quick, we'll put it this way, 2005, 2005, (2008) in 2010. I get a couple minutes left, so we'll go 2000, and we'll put, I'll get a time, 1992. Okay, this is just for the Keene City portion. In 1992, there was 10.6 city workers for every 1,000 people in Keene, and it cost us each taxpayer $337 to fund the city payroll. 2005, it was up to 11.2, and it cost $502. In 2008, right before the recession, there was 12.9 workers, and it cost every individual $673 to pay the city payroll. In 2010, it's dropped down to 2.4 workers and $620 per person. In 2012, I know that number's down, and I know that number's down because the size of the city is dropping off. And I think we have at least 40 jobs that we have not filled due to retirement or people quitting as a way to save money. So I know that was quick and dirty and probably a little sloppy at times, but what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'll put it in a PowerPoint and as a presentation for people to have a much clearer understanding. But that's what I do. I look at these numbers and I look at all the stuff. So when I make decisions at the state, the city, or the school board or the county, these are the numbers that I'm looking at when I'm coming up to make a decision. And so I have tough decisions to make, and I know the people of Keene are hurting, and we have to find a way that we can keep the people in Keene. And so I'm going to try my best, and I'll see you out there on the long road, and have a good weekend.